This is another sign of the times, an analysis and a commentary. Texas town, a disaster. Rescue crews were going door to door Thursday in the ruins of a small Texas town where a fertilizer plant explosion took as many as 15 people. May the Lord rest their souls. Injured more than 160 and destroyed dozens of homes and businesses, including a nursing home. Texas Governor Rick Perry declared a disaster and asked for an emergency declaration from the federal government. As officials said, the devastation made it difficult to pinpoint the number of dead. "I don't know how many folks may still be trapped in rubble," said Sergeant William Patrick Swanton. "Homes have been destroyed. There are homes flattened. Part of that community is gone." Those still missing included 3 to 5 firefighters who were battling a blaze at the plant when it blew up, shaking the ground with the force of a magnitude 2.1 earthquake and unleashing a plume of smoke over the farming town of West. There was no indication of criminal activity, although the area was being treated as a crime scene. As a precautionary measure, it was a huge explosion. It reached blocks, if not miles, and its devastating effect, the casualty and injury rate, could rise. The massive blast decimated a 5 to 6 block radius around the plant, where 2 massive tanks held highly pressurized anhydrous ammonia. It wrecked at least 50 to 75 homes in the area and a middle school. A 50-unit apartment complex had its walls torn off and its roof peeled back. "It's a lot of devastation. I've never seen anything like this," said the McLennan County Sheriff. "It looks like a war zone with all the debris." The blast could be felt for miles. There are only about 2,700 residents in West, many of whom were taken to shelters. Hillcrest Baptist Medical Center in Waco said it treated 101 patients and admitted 28. 5 of them were in the intensive care unit, 2 in critical condition. Emergency room Dr. Bradford Holland said injuries included skull and leg fractures and large cuts. Providence Hospital in Waco said it had received 65 patients, many with abrasions and broken bones, and some in respiratory distress, apparently because of chemical or smoke inhalation. The cause of the fire and explosion were unknown. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives was leading the investigation, and the U.S. Chemical Safety Board was sending a large team to the site and a safety report on file with the EPA. The West Fertilizer Company said that there was no risk of fire or explosion from the ammonia stored near a residential neighborhood and a school, the Dallas Morning News reported. The main hazard was an accidental release of the gas, the report said. The company paid a $5,250 fine last year after being hit with federal violations related to the absence of a security plan. State officials said the plant had been there since 1962. Its state authorization lapsed at some point, but after a 2006 complaint about a smell of ammonia in the air, they came back into compliance, and there had been no more issues until now. Police said that soon after the blast, there was one possible report of a looting incident, but it was not rampant, and no one is being allowed into the search area. In a statement, President Obama thanked first responders, pledged support, and offered prayers. And the deadly explosion at the fertilizer plant that ripped through the town of West Texas stirred echoes of one of the worst industrial accidents in United States history, which struck the state 66 years ago earlier this week. On April 16, 1947, the French cargo ship SS Grand Camp, anchored in Texas City, was being loaded with a cargo of ammonium nitrate fertilizer when a fire broke out on board. At 9:12 a.m., the ship exploded and took much of the town with it, according to the archives of Moore Memorial Public Library in Texas City. A second blast rattled the area 16 hours later. It was one of the worst industrial disasters ever to hit the United States. Some 1,000 homes and businesses were either heavily damaged or destroyed in the explosion, which caused a 15-foot-high tidal wave, killed 28 firemen, and destroyed all the town's firefighting equipment. Contemporary accounts say the blast shattered windows 40 miles away in Houston and was felt 250 miles away in Louisiana. More echoes of the past. Meanwhile, the FBI has released video and photos of two armed and extremely dangerous suspects in the Boston Marathon bombing and appealed for the public's help in identifying them. The images show two men in baseball caps and dark jackets who are seen walking together through the crowd at Monday's iconic race. Everything is connected, and everything is numbered, and these are more signs of the end of times as we know them. Transition days, which is a time of extraordinary happenings, changes, and events. Because, again, it's about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations? And that should be a very important question to ask. Revelation chapter 8, verse 10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. 11. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many humans died of the waters, because they were made bitter. 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. And the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels, which are yet to sound. Yes, it's time for the spiritual and physical manifestation of the book of Revelation. And all these are more signs.